Drake Maye and the New England Patriots delivered in Tampa Bay, and now Maye is the MVP favorite. That and more on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso, with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready, Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome into the Locked On NFL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network. We're bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert, the legacy, Louis DiBiase. On today's show, we are going to break down all of the crazy action in NFL Week 10. We had the Pittsburgh Steelers falling apart once again on Sunday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. Johnathan Taylor ran wild to get the Colts an overtime victory, but we start with Drake Maye taking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. It was an excellent game. Before we dive in, though, do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen each and every day, and for being an everydayer here with us at the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It was an ugly game at times, Louis, quite honestly, but Drake Maye delivered once again. He had some deep balls down the sideline, some incredible throws with pressure on him, and then Travion Henderson delivers as well. He has now moved to be the MVP favorite on FanDuel. He is by the odds, the favorite to win it. The Patriots keep on winning. Can't be anything more than impressed with what Maye's doing in his second year.
Yeah, and this game kind of convinced me that they're more than just the next version of, last year's Denver Broncos, where it's a team taking advantage of a fourth place schedule, a new coach, fresh, change of pace in the organization. This is a really signature win against a good football team that's battling for the number one seed in the NFC, a place that, look at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, every time they go down to Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles gives quarterbacks hell. Young quarterbacks, players that aren't fully developed yet, like a Jalen Hurts, and Drake Maye goes down there. The rain, the weather's not great, and gets the job done. And so, yes, the schedule has been easier for the Patriots this year, but they have now beaten the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those are two signature wins. Drake Maye is playing like an elite quarterback in year two. Elite quarterback play, signature wins. That's a recipe for a team now to be taken very seriously and not just the next version of what we kind of see every year with teams.
No, they continue to beat not only the bad teams that everybody criticizes them for on their schedule, but they beat the good teams as well. And at some point, that has to count for something. And my guy Nick Cattles from Locked On Patriots talked about that.
The Patriots improved to 5-0 on the road. That's right. They have more road wins in their first 5 games this season than they had total wins in both 2023 and 2024. That's outrageous. Big day for the rookies. Kyle Williams, 72-yard touchdown catch and run. Just tremendous play from the rookie. Great throw by Drake Maye. And then Travion Henderson, not one, but 2 explosive big-time house calls in the running game. So you got that explosivity from your rookies. Mac Hollins was quietly good. 6 catches, 106 yards, and the defense did just enough after giving up yet another opening drive touchdown to an offense. But hey, Patriots are 8-2, and they now play Thursday night against the Jets to try to improve to 9-2. The Buffalo Bills lost, so pretty much up 2 games in the division now in the AFC East. Stay right here. Locked On Patriots with Nick Cattles. Every single day, Monday through Friday, we break down the Patriots as they continue to be one of the best teams in football.
And you look at their schedule the rest of the way. Like Nick said, they get to play the Jets. They're at home on a short week. They're absolutely winning that game. They'll probably be 9.5, 10.5 point favorites on FanDuel. Then they play the Bengals. Then they play the Giants. I mean, this team is set up before they play the Bills, the Ravens, and then they finish with the Jets and the Dolphins. They only have 2 more serious games on the schedule. I think Drake Maye absolutely can win MVP with that sort of schedule ahead.
No, I agree. And when you look at Henderson's breakout performance, you look at the way Stephon Diggs has been getting better and better every single week, getting his legs under him after an injury last year. Again, this is not just the next version of a team taking advantage of a bad schedule and their roster clearly isn't talented enough to compete. Like, I do think the Patriots are good enough. Do they still have a long way to go, like building a Super Bowl core? Yeah, probably. But I don't think you should take this team lightly in the AFC at all.
No, I don't think anybody should be taken lightly that's, a good team this year because there aren't that many good teams. And
that's fair
one
point.
of the teams who I'm not certain if they're any good is the Buffalo Bills, who just do the craziest things. They get upset by the Miami Dolphins 30-13, and my guy Joe Marino from Locked On Bills broke down the major disappointment.
The Buffalo Bills got smoked by the Miami Dolphins 30-13, and it just raises a lot of questions about this Bills football team that looks sloppy on both sides of the football, but especially on offense. It was hard for the Bills to move the football. Josh Allen didn't look comfortable, and you just wonder, do they have enough at the receiver position? Are they making things too difficult on Josh Allen with a lack of dynamic weapons around him? Sure, they have a good offensive line and a run game, but when the Bills have to drop back and pass the football, boy, it looks tough from time to time, and certainly against Miami, a defense that was undermanned, down several players. You just expected a whole lot more from the Buffalo Bills in this game. Now they're falling to 6-3, looking up at the New England Patriots, and they are in a battle for the division, and it might be time to start talking about the Bills as more of a wild card team in the year 2025.
I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to catch the New England Patriots for the division now with the way that things are breaking down in the schedule ahead. I think it is fair to say the Bills are a wild card team, but more important than where they're going to end up when they make it into the playoffs, this team just looks fundamentally broken out there. I mean, Josh Allen had 2 turnovers on the day. They had 3 as a team. The offense just looks clunky, and we have talked about you go away from Stephon Diggs and you go to the kind of committee approach at wide receiver. That's great, but when you really need a guy to make a play and do something special for you, there's nobody there to do that. Keon Coleman had a play that looked like what it's supposed to look like down the left-hand sideline to get them a little bit closer before the Dolphins broke it open, but more disappointing than the offense might be the defense. I mean, Devon H-Chain had 225 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, 174 on the ground. This Buffalo defense is not championship worthy whatsoever, and they've just proven it over and over throughout the year.
This loss is a direct indictment of the Buffalo Bills general manager just not doing enough to support his MVP quarterback in Josh Allen. Like, Tyler, you're a basketball guy. It kind of feels like you're watching the LeBron James Cleveland Cavaliers, where it's maybe the best player in the world just having to put a team on his back every single week. And sure, can he do that most times? Yes. Should he have to, though? Absolutely not. We should not be talking about the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen in his prime as a wild card team instead of a division winner. But Brandon Beane, yes, since Stephon Diggs has not done a good enough job supporting Allen with weapons. And like you said, even on defense, where he's invested most of his resources in the draft, they haven't gotten the job done. The results are not there. And instead of just saying, I need to do a better job, he hides behind this everybody eats committee-like approach, when instead of just saying I need to do better, he hides behind that and then puts out there this morning that I tried to trade for Jalen Waddle, but didn't go far enough. Like, you don't get participation points when you're 6-7 years into this contending window and you haven't got the job done. I'm sorry, but I think this is a direct indictment on Brandon Beane. And even Sean McDermott kind of called it out today that with Josh Allen, your passing offense should never be this inconsistent.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And quite honestly, to me, winning a championship in the NFL is about being able to do things when the other team knows that you're doing that. Can you run the ball when you need to salt a game away late in January? Can you do it even when they know you're going to run?
There's very few secrets in the NFL, right?
Exactly. At that point, you're not out scheming anybody or getting any. It's just about winning. And I think that with the Bills, they just can't do certain things. Today, they only ran for 87 rushing yards. And without the run game being dominant when there were a lot of third and long situations, Miami's pass rush teed off on Buffalo in this game. I mean, Nick Chubb going into Sunday Night Football led the NFL in pressures for the week, like at that time. Like, I mean, they really put it on Buffalo. So when your offensive line and your run game is supposed to be your strength and those two things don't play well, they didn't have an answer, and they're going to need to have an answer if they're going to want to win a championship.
It sounds simple, but eventually push comes to shove in the NFL. It's an execution league, and you need good players to win, and the Bills just don't have enough good players. Josh Allen's their only alpha, honestly, that can really take over a game. Maybe you could say James Cook, but I don't think that's enough to win a Super Bowl. It's enough to be, again, a wild card team, but probably not a championship winner.
And I think Dalton Kincaid is a good player. He got banged up today during the game, but he is a number 2 in a really good offense with like a number 1 dominant wide receiver.
They have a bunch of twos. They don't have a true one. Yeah.
If they would have went out and got like a DK Metcalf, like I think that would have been
that was the move.
That would have actually mattered in the AFC rather than DK Metcalf being on the Steelers team that we'll get to them in a minute. But a lot more to discuss. Staying in the AFC, the Colts and the Ravens get massive, massive wins.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's SAD, software as a disservice. And that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control by uniting your employees and teams and departments in one system. Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonNFL. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonNFL. That's rippling.com/lockedonNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, Louis, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL, breaking down Week 10 in the NFL. We saw some big movement, and I think we learned a lot about a lot of teams on this day. And one thing that we talked about earlier was Drake Maye taking the favorite, the best odds to win MVP. Well, a non-quarterback is really making a case, and it's Johnathan Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts, who has moved up to third. So it's Drake Maye, Matthew Stafford, and Johnathan Taylor third in the MVP standings. He led the Colts to an overtime win, 31-25, and literally dominated on the ground. My guy, Zach Arthur from Locked On, Jake Arthur, gotta get Zach Hicks and Jake Arthur trying to put them together here. Great combination over at Locked On Colts. But again, Jake Arthur from Locked On Colts broke down the big win over in Berlin.
The Colts somehow survived the Atlanta Falcons out in Berlin, Germany, winning in overtime 31-25, thanks in huge part to Johnathan Taylor and his 286 yards of offense. He also had 3 touchdowns, including an 83-yarder, including the game-winning 8-yarder in overtime. Just truly a remarkable, unbelievable performance by Taylor. The defense came up with several stops when they needed to throughout the game. Some warts there in coverage. We'll get to that later. Some warts on offense. 7 sacks given up, another 2 turnovers by Daniel Jones. But for now, we're going to celebrate this win. We're going to celebrate the fact that the Colts are back, remaining atop the AFC for now, and going into the bye week. Nothing bad can happen to us next week, you guys. Catch us on the Squad Show on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Even with Daniel Jones not playing a great game in his last 2 games, I mean, they won. He ran for some yards. He made the plays. But, boy, the turnovers really making you have flashbacks a little bit. But it didn't matter because Johnathan Taylor literally led them straight to the victory. Even though the Falcons kept it competitive here and there, their defense made some plays. Drake London was awesome. Like, all of that true. But, I mean, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, adding 42. Like, Johnathan Taylor certainly deserves MVP conversation at minimum.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like Saquon Barkley last year where
yes,
he's not going to win the award, but
right,
he maybe has the best argument out of any player, including quarterbacks. And like you said earlier, you got me thinking, like, this year, I still think it's going to come, push comes to shove. It comes down to the healthiest teams and the teams with the quarterbacks that win the Super Bowls. But
yeah,
this does kind of feel like a 2017 type of season where
yes,
look at where, Mahomes and Allen is right now and Lamar Jackson behind the 8 ball battling for wild card spots. Like, this could be a season where a Johnathan Taylor-led team that now has Sauce Gardner on defense, even with Daniel Jones, if he can play mistake-free football, and that's what he's got to clean up, like, they do have a real chance in this conference. And again, the Falcons are nothing to write home about, but they have a lot of talent. You were able to get this win despite your quarterback kind of turning back into a pumpkin the last few weeks. And the Colts kind of have the roster to be able to deal with that. I don't want to say like the Eagles last year, but it's just kind of giving me those flashbacks with the way the Colts are playing right now. And in this year's NFL landscape, that might be enough. They're an interesting football team.
No, 100% right. And especially it seems like, the pendulum has swung back towards the run game. We know that over the last couple of years because of the 2 high shells that are being played on defense and a team that can just bully you and run the ball at will, even when they're going to do it, like we talked about earlier. Right. That's kind of unstoppable. And, I mean, if Daniel Jones doesn't have a bunch of turnovers in a game and give the game away, the Colts have such a cast that I don't think it's impossible. Now, their defense leaves some to be desired. Like, Drake London gave it to Sauce Gardner in this game. That's still, when you're seeing the turnovers from Daniel Jones and you're seeing Sauce Gardner, I'm going to give that time, but I'm just saying there are reasons to be like, I don't know. But they just keep on winning. They can win in so many different ways, and again, they can do things that even when the other team knows that's what they're about to do, they're going to win, and they have the playmakers. You're right. That's a great comparison because Daniel Jones also has the arm to throw it downfield to make the splash plays when they're open, but also can use his legs in a significant way to change football games for you. So I do think that's a pretty good comparison.
Like, if he could just be Jalen Hurts from 2024, where he makes the splash plays, the clutch mobility and big moments, but stays out of the way, like, the turnovers got to stop if the Colts want a real chance. I don't think Jones is going to carry you to a championship, but like you said, in this version of the NFL, Johnathan Taylor might be able to do that with an elite play caller as well and Shane Steichen. Like, that could get the job done. It's funny, the Colts and the Patriots back at the top of the AFC. Nature's healing a little bit in this conference.
It makes me sick.
I know, unfortunately.
Oh, my God. But
the football gods are like, you had your time with Kansas City and Buffalo. Let's get back to what we do.
Right. back to what we're used to here.
Yeah.
And speaking of being back to what we're used to, the Baltimore Ravens are rolling again. They got another victory, this time 27-19 over the Vikings. My guy Kevin Ostreicher from Locked On Ravens broke down the victory.
A win is a win, and that's what the Baltimore Ravens did on Sunday. They won. They beat the Minnesota Vikings. I'm Kevin Ostreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens, 27-19. The final score, certainly a lot closer of a game at the end than maybe people thought it would be, considering how the Ravens played in the second half at times. But in that first half, it was a little shaky, especially in the first quarter. But Baltimore was able to do a couple of things really well. They forced turnovers, something they haven't really been able to do this season. They've done that over the past couple of weeks. They also played clean football, at least relative to what we saw the Vikings do. The Vikings had 1 billion false starts, not even an over-exaggeration there. And Lamar Jackson with timely throws. The Ravens struggled to run the ball at points, but Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell both having some timely runs. And the Ravens able to escape Minnesota with a win to move their record to 4-5. and continue having a soft schedule moving forward up until the last couple weeks of the season. So Baltimore looking to make a run here. For more on the Ravens and their Week 10 win, be sure to check out the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
He wasn't kidding. Minnesota had 8 false starts at home. Absolutely
incredible.
Insane. But Minnesota was getting pressure on Lamar Jackson and making it difficult early, and they went to the run game, the Ravens did, late in the game to kind of push that thing down. And J.J. McCarthy, man, just made so many mistakes. His deep ball just despicably bad. From watching Drake Maye on one screen on the Octo box that I have going on down in the basement, from watching Drake Maye just be pinpoint accurate and drop it in a bucket on all of his deep throws, to watching J.J. McCarthy put all of his might into a throw and it just kind of flutter up, man. I wouldn't say it's quite Tua-like, but it was ugly, and Justin Jefferson was angry. I mean, Baltimore really controlled this one despite the one-score finish, 27-19. It really wasn't that close in the second half.
Yeah, and suddenly the Steelers lose on Sunday night. They gave Baltimore an opening to probably take control of this division yet again, and I think that's going to happen after these last couple games. Pittsburgh just kind of choking this division away right now with Lamar Jackson back. I don't know if the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender right now, but it's incredible how different it feels for that organization from a couple weeks ago when Cooper Rush is out there and they felt dead in the water. I think they're going to win that division.
Dude, I mean, look at their next few games.
Yeah.
At Browns, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, Bengals. Like that.
Are they going to be 8, 9, and 5?
I mean, that could be 5 straight wins right there. So, yeah, that would be 9 and 5, and then they would have a date at home against the Patriots 4 days before Christmas. And imagine if they win that game. They win that game, they go to 10 and 5. They knock off the Patriots, who that's probably their 3rd or 4th loss at minimum. That will be like a, don't call it a comeback. You know, like we are here. We have arrived. This Ravens team is right where we needed to be at. Like, I got to give credit. Michelle Majuk, the data queen on Thursday editions, she predicted the 9-game win streak from the Ravens, which is what that Patriots win would put. And they have an opportunity. They are back, man.
Yeah, it doesn't sound far off. I really think they could do it. And again, in a wide open AFC, just get in this year and you have a shot, especially if you can get some home playoff games.
And let me say this, though. I will want to say this, just a backhand compliment, this whole situation. It wasn't a super impressive win over Minnesota. I felt like Minnesota just made mistakes and couldn't handle themselves because that's how their quarterback is right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, oh, Baltimore is going to be a Super Bowl contender. I think they're going to be making the playoffs because they're a pretty good team, but I wasn't overly impressed. So I'm not crowning
I can see that. I agree.
I'm not crowning them. You know, they're just a good football team in a landscape of a lot of bad football. But with that being said, speaking of bad football, the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football, what a dud. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Again, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Louie, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. We have talked about the AFC East and the 2 different directions the Patriots and the Bills are going there. We talked about 2 big-time wins in the AFC with the Colts and the Ravens, but now we got to stay in the AFC once again. It's an AFC-heavy show. A lot of the action over in the AFC this weekend, but the Pittsburgh Steelers had a chance to build on their big-time win over the Colts that gave you some hope that maybe the Steelers' defense is turning it around. The offense is just good enough. They can play complementary football, but absolutely not The fraudulent Pittsburgh Steelers show up once again. They get absolutely blasted by the Los Angeles Chargers in a game where, quite honestly, the score 25-10 makes it feel closer than what it actually felt like watching the game. And my guy Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers talked about the disappointment after the big road loss.
Hey everyone, Chris Carter here from the Locked On Steelers podcast with your post-game reaction to the Steelers losing 25-10 to the Los Angeles Chargers in Los Angeles. It was a terrible game for Aaron Rodgers, who came out missing wide open guys, not seeing open reads, throwing a really bad interception over the middle to DK Metcalf, honestly spoiling what I thought was an inspired effort by the Steelers defense that kept this game in check all throughout, pretty much going into the fourth quarter, giving the offense time to wake up, but they just never did. And now the questions will start to perk up. Is this just like last year where Russell Wilson had a decent middle stretch of the season and then fell off late? Granted, this is much earlier than that, but still, major questions now for this offense. They get to play a Bengals defense that hasn't been good next week, but they've got some really tough challenges down the stretch here if this team wants to make the playoffs. We'll talk more about what they need to do and Aaron Rodgers' struggles on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Check us out on Monday.
I mean, I got to make this point. Arthur Smith is at the top of this list of people that annoy me. I mentioned it earlier this week or last week at this point, but in football, to me, there are plays that are just normal plays, normal run plays, duo, outside zone, those type of, they're just normal pass plays, a nice, a dig route over the middle, a little dagger concept, little scissors concept, stick, you know what I mean? Just normal plays where you got to execute, let your players play. And then there are other plays that are more schemed up things, like when you have a motion and a fake wide receiver reverse into the tight end screen on the backside, or the tight end leak play where the quarterback fakes the handoff and does the naked bootleg and hits the leaking tight end on the backside and all of these different schemes. Arthur Smith calls plays like he is a genius, like he is God's gift to football. Every play is a schemed up play where he's like, my players suck and I'm going to outsmart the other side. The personnel deployment that he uses, how he puts his best players in positions to not succeed, in my opinion, he just doesn't do anything creative that actually helps his team. He does creative things where it's like, Art, what are you doing over there? And he's like, I figured it out, guys. I'm going to run a double play action tight end screen to Darnell Washington on 3rd and 36, and we're going to pick it up. He's insane to me. It's so annoying to watch him think that he's a genius and he's going to outsmart Jesse Minter with all these schemed up screens and motions and stuff, when in reality, just normal, regular football plays would give his team more of an option. He thinks that his plays are better. It's the opposite of Jimmy's and Joe's players over plays. It's the opposite of that. Arthur Smith thinks he is a genius and his plays are so good they're going to work. And it's frustrating. Yes, Aaron Rodgers played bad. The Steelers need more on offense. The O-line wasn't good in this game. But Arthur Smith just outthinks football all the time and comes out like, it reminds me of the meme where the guy's in third place and he's like dumping champagne on himself. And everyone else is looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, he really thinks he's a genius.
Yeah, you would accept it if it was a Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay play caller, but Arthur Smith has never earned this reputation to be this so out-of-pocket coordinator, which is crazy. A really funny point. But yeah, Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. Like, this is who they are every single year. Chris made a great point. I mean, with Aaron, it doesn't matter if it's Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. They're going to win 9 games. They're probably going to lose the 7 seed, and life will continue on. Next year, they're going to bring on, I don't know, Mac Jones or some other quarterback like this, and here we go again. The cycle of life continues until they just finally hit the reboot button. I think this is who they are. They had an opportunity to really put their foot down in this division, and they, like I said earlier, they opened the floodgates. They cleared the way for the Baltimore Ravens to take back control. And yeah, the Chargers are a good football team, but they have a really banged up offensive line. Your defense finally carried you, and you have 10 points to show for it. So it's just kind of every single year, same old with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You go through the rest of their schedule. They play the Bengals next week. Like you said, I think that'll be a decent game there, but they should have a good chance to win that. They're at the Chicago Bears, and I don't think anybody believes in the Bears enough to say that that's a guaranteed loss for the Steelers. They could win that game against the Bears. I wouldn't be shocked there. Then they play the Bills and the Ravens. I would be shocked if they beat those teams at this time. The Dolphins, I think they can beat the Dolphins in prime time. Then they're at Detroit. I don't think they're winning that. They finished with the Browns and the Ravens, and it's like I could see them winning 4 of those games, but out of Bills, Ravens, Lions, and Ravens, they're going to have to win one of those 4 games to get to 10 wins, even if they play their best football down the stretch. And that's what it's going to take for them to lock in. I don't think they're going to get in with 9 wins. So they're going to have to beat one of these good teams and win one of these clean matchups and take care of business in the matchups they should win. But I've had enough of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good for the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert was awesome in this game.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen becomes the all-time receptions leader in Chargers history. Vidal was running good. I thought Khalil Mack made impact plays. Even with all the injuries on the offensive line, like, the Chargers are just a team that will have their down games, but unlike the Steelers, the Chargers can be trusted. I feel like that's all I like. They're a solid football team, and I can trust them to always give a solid effort.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Justin Herbert, what he's doing this year, I'm impressed. Like, he is elevating the way a franchise quarterback should. He always gets this like top 5 kind of recognition, and I don't know if at times he's really earned that, but this year I think he definitely is.
Yeah, 100%. They had a stinker against the Commanders and a comeback win for the Commanders. But other than that, they've been very solid all year, even in their losses. But as we always do, a little quick run through of the rest of the games that we didn't talk about. The Bears come back and win over the Giants. Jackson Dart has a turnover, gets a concussion. Man, he takes a lot of hits. Like, he has a lot of talent, but Dart is super reckless with the way he plays. And he had a great game and got the Giants a big lead, but let Caleb Williams come back after making a mistake and getting knocked out of the game. The Ravens, we talked about. The Jets, 27-20. The Jets beat the Browns. Dylan Gabriel is terrible, man. Like, I don't know. I just will never understand that. You would think, but he's had his own injuries. The Saints get a big win over the Panthers, 17-7. The Texans come back in a major way over the Jacksonville Jaguars, win 36-29. The Seahawks dismantle the Cardinals, 44-22. The Rams put 42 up on the 49ers, 42-26. Some West Coast football in those ones with 60-plus points being scored in both matchups. And then the Lions offense, Dan Campbell takes over play calling duties and wins 44-22 over the Commanders. Out of all of those other games, what stood out to you?
For me, it was the Rams beating the 49ers and Matt Stafford now setting NFL history with 3 straight performances of at least 4 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. I know you mentioned Drake Maye is the favorite to win MVP, but Matt Stafford deserves his flowers and deserves to be in that conversation. I think as right now a top 3 MVP finalist. The Rams, outside of the Eagles, I think they're the second best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I've liked the Rams since before the season started, and I'm
too.
still on them. Not to hate on Michelle. Like I said, she is calling this Ravens run right now, so credit right there. But on Thursday, we talked about the tiers in the NFC West, and I had the Seahawks and the Rams in a higher tier than the 49ers. And she kind of pushed back on that, but I think I'm right about that one, and that leads me to I want to point out the Seahawks. They dominated the Cardinals from the start. It was like 35-38 to nothing. The Cardinals came back and scored some points to make it not look so bad, but that was a rout, man. And I'm telling you, they're going to get Rashid Shaheed in there. I think that's a great fit. That's my favorite underrated trade. He only had 1 catch for 3 yards and 1 target. I think they're going to work him slowly, but nobody really had to do much of anything after Jackson Smith and Jigba went absolutely nuts early in the game, and the Seahawks just jumped all over them. They're a real freaking team, man.
And they're starting to look like the Legion of Boom defense, right? Look at that secondary. Nick Emenwari, this rookie safety,
He's been
looks
great.
like Cam Chancellor out there. And Reek Woolen's been so much better lately. He did incredible today against McBride and Harrison, Devin Witherspoon. I mean, that front is good. Seattle's defense, I think, is the most underrated in the NFL. They're a legit contender.
And they got a bunch of dudes that I really like. Like they're not names that everybody knows, but like I loved Boye Mafe coming out of Minnesota.
Yep.
I loved Uchenna Nuoso.
That was me with Reek Woolen. That's why I love that defense.
Yeah, 100%. They just got guys that I really, really like. But other than that, pretty crazy week in the NFL with the comebacks, some of the lowly teams. Shout out to the Saints and the Jets for winning. The Titans are the worst team in the league. Keep that first number 1 overall pick. Trade it for someone to get a quarterback. It's all going according to plan. But that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On NFL. I am your host, the Madman Tyler Rowland, for my co-host, the Legacy Louis DiBiase, as we tell you every single episode. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.